So the big news of the day in Cleveland is Kevin Stefanski, for the first time in his head coaching career, is handing over the play calling duties to someone else, offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey. So let's break all this down and I'll give you my thoughts and analysis on the whole thing. My initial reaction when I saw this was your last in total offense. I can't say I'm completely shocked. Stefanski has been asked this question in the past before, so it's not the first time that someone has proposed the idea of maybe he hands that off to someone else so he can focus on the game a little bit, because the Browns are dead last, first, however you want to look at it, in penalties, and so many of those penalties come from the offense and pre-snap, so a little bit of a lack of focus, and maybe having a head coach who isn't focusing on getting the play call in, but can focus on making sure the execution is right and everyone is where they need to be, can improve this offense as a whole. But when you are dead last in total yards and the head coach hands off play calling duties, I don't think we should say we're blindsided by it. Did I wake up this morning thinking today's the day this is going to happen? No, I did not, because Stefanski has been a little bit stubborn about giving this up. But here we are, you're 1-6. I'm not surprised that other changes have been made. But I also say that giving up the play calling duties is somewhat the first step in the path of a head coach getting on the hot seat, right? They are either doing some self-scouting of, hey, this ship is going down. We are 1-6, and I am going to try and do everything to turn the offense around to save my job a little bit. Or you can look at it as the ship is going down, and I'm going to go down with it, meaning I'm not going to put my fate in Ken Dorsey's play calling. I'm going to bet on myself. It just depends on what kind of person Stefanski is. Is he someone who is intelligent enough to kind of look inwards and realize, yeah, I'm not doing a really good enough job pressing buttons and being the play caller, so let's hand it off to someone else, because clearly with the rate we're going to have one win this year, and I'm probably not going to have a job next year. So would rather shake it up and swallow my pride a little bit, because calling plays has to be the coolest job in the world. Like, that's what we all want to do. That's the dream right there, is be an owner first off and then be an offensive coordinator so you can be a play caller. But the Browns' offense this year, I mean, look at it. It is obviously one of the worst in the NFL. It is dead last in total yards. It's 29th in scoring, and I don't know how you can find the number of scoring by just the offense, because I don't think that Rodney McLeod's 2 touchdowns should count towards the Browns scoring offense, but every single metric out there just takes all the points. It doesn't filter out defensive scores or special team scores, but you remove those 14 points right there, and the Browns probably average about 13 points a game, and that is very close to dead last. My big question, though, is why not give Stefanski an opportunity, whether it's a decision made above him or Stefanski himself making this decision, to kind of mix and gel with Jameis Winston a little bit, right? Kind of treat this like a middle school science experiment, okay? Kevin Stefanski and Deshaun Watson, from a numbers perspective, in terms of points and yards, were not a very good fit. The Browns did not score as many points when those two were in tandem together compared to when it was Stefanski with Baker or Stefanski with Joe Flacco. So this year, why not continue having Kevin Stefanski call plays for a little bit with Jameis Winston? And we can all go back to 7th grade a little bit and do an independent study and realize, okay, so we changed one variable, Deshaun Watson, we changed the quarterback, and the offense dramatically improved. So now we know all the issues were with Deshaun Watson. But when you take out the play calling from Stefanski, if things aren't going well, we're somewhat left in limbo a little bit of, was it Watson or was it Stefanski's play calling? Like, I don't understand why you wouldn't just give Stefanski a few weeks with Jameis Winston to kind of learn whether or not Stefanski's just not a very good play caller, or Deshaun Watson, Stefanski are not a good mix together. Now, I was going to, in my original script, say this was a clear Hail Mary effort by Kevin Stefanski, and then I literally stumbled across this tweet from Tony Grossi, who says, I asked Kevin Stefanski if it's a Hail Mary thrown up to hand over play calling to Ken Dorsey. He chuckled and said, no. Blasphemous. No. That's blasphemous. No. Kevin, you're 1-6. Yes, it is. How else could you look at this? What, you think you're just like switching it up for shits and giggles? No. This is a season that is going straight to the ground, going downhill every single week. I don't know how, but somehow it's actually gotten worse, it feels like, every single week since their week 2 win against the Jags. When you are 1-6 and you have an owner who has shown they love firing coaches. Yeah, I would say when you are a 2-time coach of the year that is known for their play calling and you hand that job over to someone else, that's as close as it gets to a Hail Mary. Trying to save your job, knowing, well, the boss above me loves to fire coaches. We are 1-6, and even though I am a very good play caller, I am going to hand it over to someone else. That is textbook Hail Mary, trying to save your job and this offense. Now, overarching and final thoughts on this thing is, as you guys answer the question on screen, is Kevin Stefanski on the hot seat? I do think there are some underlying pros that could come out of this. I know Stefanski's play calling was not everyone's cup of tea, and some people liked it, some people didn't, whatever. Some people think it's a great move, some people not so much. I think the underlying thoughts here is that Kevin Stefanski will now have more time to focus on the offense as they break the huddle and the entire 40 seconds leading up to, or from the last play to the snap of the next play, because he spent half of that getting the play call into the quarterback. And the Browns have been dead last in penalties. They continue to have dumb little mistakes like pre-snap penalties and illegal shifts, illegal motions. So hopefully this allows Stefanski to free up some time in game to fixate more on that and not spending half of each play getting the play call into the quarterback. Plus, the way the Browns operate, they are such an analytically driven team. They're somewhat like a baseball manager where so much of the decisions the Browns make on Sunday are made Monday through Saturday. And so I don't want to say he's like a system coach, but so much of what they want to do on Sunday was determined throughout the week in their scouting and numbers and analytics, saying, run this, do this, because that's what the opponent's bad at, that's what the opponent's good at. It's not like Stefanski as a play caller's out there just firing from the hip on, well, I got a gut feeling that a run's going to work really well right now. No, they are completely driven by numbers. So if that's the case, I won't say anyone can be a play caller, but in this type of situation, the Browns run based on a playbook of, oh, we are in this down and distance from this spot on the field, and based on the opposing defense's ranking against the run or pass, well, our calculator will spit out run this. So I don't think it's going to be dramatically different in terms of what the play calling looks like under Ken Dorsey. Up next on the show, some Jameis Winston news as he was announced as the starter for the Browns in Week 8 against the Ravens, and some injury news as well. Some good, some not so good. We'll get to all that in just a moment. But first, a quick shout out to our sponsor today, Mando. Mando is a whole body deodorant that is safe to use anywhere on your body. It was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO is being misdiagnosed and mistreated. Mando whole body deodorant is powerful enough for the toughest body odor, but gentle enough to use anywhere, allowing you to put your Mando on family jewels without any worry, because Mando is aluminum free, baking soda free, cruelty free, dye free, and vegan. I love having Mando at my desk, so when I walk to work, I've got it waiting for me to kick any bad odor I worked up during my walk out the door. Mando Starter Pack is perfect for new customers, and they're giving you guys $5 off when you go to shopmando.com with promo code CHAT. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. Luckily, I have a discount code to help you guys get hooked up on my favorite smelling whole body deodorant on the market. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code CHAT. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack when you use code CHAT at shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. So Jameis Winston, as I'm sure everyone has seen by now, has been announced as the starter this Sunday against the Ravens. Dorian Thompson-Robinson suffered a finger injury in Week 7. It does not require surgery, so the hope is he won't miss too much time. But there's no guarantee that the starting job is even waiting for him when he gets healthy if Jameis plays well while filling in for Deshaun Watson. This is what everyone's been asking for, right? Everyone has wanted to see Jameis for a long time, and so here we are. No clue what to expect. For starters, we really haven't seen much of Jameis in the NFL. I mean, he's making his first start since 2022. He's making his 11th start since he left the Buccaneers and went over to New Orleans at the start of 2020. All I ask for Jameis is to be himself. This season's going nowhere. Let's be honest. Be entertaining. If we're going to get Jameis, let's get all of Jameis, right? If we're going to get 33 touchdowns, I want 30 interceptions. I'm not rooting for picks, but I am rooting for Jameis to just go out there and at least start slinging the rock around the place. And there's going to be some good plays. There's going to be some big-time Jameis plays. And that's the price of doing business with Jameis as your quarterback. But all I ask is entertain us. I mean, at the core of sports, that is what it is, entertainment, right? And we have not been entertained. This has been a bad product so far. So please, Jameis, just be you. Now, what to expect with Ken Dorsey as the play caller for Jameis Winston, I have no idea. I mean, just think about Dorsey and his background for a moment, right? With the Carolina Panthers, Cam Newton, good rushing quarterback, but of course a good arm. Goes up to Buffalo, Josh Allen, somewhat similar and a good runner and a good passer, of course. Then comes to Cleveland, somewhat similar-ish with Deshaun Watson, a good runner, good passer. Jameis is not a runner. Like who remembers the time when Jameis Winston on fourth down ran like 8 yards beyond the line of scrimmage and then threw a pass on fourth down to end the game? So I have no idea when it comes to X's and O's what to expect with these two guys combining with forces, but at least be entertaining. I want to see Dorsey throw his headset if he's up in the booth, and I want Jameis to throw for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. That's probably what's going to happen. Let's be honest. So what % chance do you give the Browns to beat the Ravens? At home, new play caller, new quarterback. Kind of feels like a brand new team in some ways. I'll put it at I'm going to give it a 30% chance. The reason being is I'm a big believer in the backup quarterback and the interim head coach bump. Whenever you get an interim head coach or a backup quarterback coming in, that first game, they go all out, right? They're like, I'm in charge this week. We've got some momentum. We've got some confidence. We've got some mojo. We've got someone else in charge right now. Then very quickly, it just goes back to where it was before. But that first game, Andy Dalton and the Panthers went to Carolina. Jeff Saturday, when he was interim for the Colts, they beat the Raiders. Andy Dalton and the Panthers went to Las Vegas and beat the Raiders. Maybe you just got to play the Raiders now that I think about it with an interim head coach or a backup QB. Fuck. We should have done this weeks ago. Could have had 2 wins right now. All right, some injury news. Wyatt Teller is returning to practice. He has been in IR for the last 4 weeks with a knee injury. That's obviously encouraging to see him come back on the field, but also love to see him get healthy because I think he could be dangled as a trade candidate for teams looking to beef up their offensive line. 2 teams that come to mind, the Houston Texans and the Chicago Bears. Nyheim Hines, he's still out for the season. He was coming back from that torn ACL he suffered last July in a boating accident. Remember, he was on the NFL list for all training camp, and then Nyheim Hines was activated off the list to open up his practice window. Well, that 21-day practice window is open. The Browns are not adding him to the 53-man roster, so he is done for the season. So we will not see Nyheim Hines play a snap for the Browns, and unfortunately, he has now missed 2 straight seasons in the National Football League. Thinking about Nyheim Hines for a second here and some of the Browns' injuries that they have sustained, they have mismanaged a handful of injuries. Nyheim Hines had his practice window open clearly too early, unless something dramatically bad happened while at practice. I think they mismanaged that. Why they had Jack Conklin taken off the PUP list to start the year, and then he would miss the first 4 weeks of the season and just take up a roster spot, no clue. Unless you just wanted him to practice, but I'd probably rather have the roster spot. And then same goes for Jed Wills, who barely made it back in time before. It didn't make sense to have him open up on the taken off the PUP list. But even when he came back, he clearly wasn't really 100%. I think the Browns just felt a sense of urgency with Wills and Conklin to get them off the PUP list to try and just speak it into existence that they could come back sooner rather than later. And then Nyheim Hines was just a complete fumble on the Browns' part. Some guys that are not practicing, by the way, for Wednesday, the first week of practice or day of practice this week. Jerome Ford still dealing with a hamstring injury. Ronnie Hickman, ankle. He's missed the last couple of games. Ford has missed the last week. Jordan Hicks, who just came back from an injury, he did not practice, elbow injury. That's what kept him out for a little stretch before week 7. Ethan Posick just continuing to battle with his knee injury. And then Jed Wills also continuing to battle with a knee injury. Before we sign off and let you guys get on out of here, shout out your city for me. We have picked up a bunch of subscribers over the last couple of weeks, and I always love to know where people are tuning in from because it's just such a good reminder that this fan base is so international, so nationwide. So shout out your city for me down below in the chat while I give some shout outs here to the Brown and Orange Club. Tim Green, Mike Dibble, Jeremy Stallman, Slow But Sure, David Botner, Jared Brandt, James Harper, Papa T, Joseph Deporte, Mike, Ray Bidding, Dr. No, Eli Green, John Porter, Scorpion, Max T, Jacob Bate, Drunken Honky, and Pistol Slothly. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. If you want to get added to the club, hang out with us during our watch parties on Sundays, and we'll add you to the club with a $50 super chat.